Hi guys, welcome to our monthly mic check. My name is David, and with me today is Emily. How you doing, Emily?
Hi, David. I'm good. How are you?
Excited about today's monthly mic check.
Me too. Me too.
Fantastic. And we're going to be talking about the favorite episode from the month of July on Stories and Strategies podcast with Cousin PR. If you don't know Stories and Strategies with Cousin PR, it is the world's number one PR podcast according to Good Pods. So do take a listen. All right. Emily, you want to take us away with your favorite episode from last month?
I would love to. Thank you for that, David. Yeah, so my favorite episode was with the lovely guest, Graham Goodkind. He's the founder and chairman of Frank PR, and it is titled Selling Your Value, Not Our Time. Graham gave terrific advice for PR agencies, and this episode really reframed pricing for the AI era. Around the idea that clients are buying outcomes and not minutes. And if we keep selling our hours, we're pushing our own efficiencies. Graham's point lands because tools now compress the doing. The idea is still human, but AI can act like a planning director, and that doesn't reduce our value, it exposes it. A couple insights that I wanted to touch on. Number one being culture matches the model. And Farzana asked a great question. If we're not billing time, can someone deliver a great idea and, take the afternoon off, head to the cottage, take a summer Friday? And Graham basically says, heck yes, do the job, then go live your life. And I just loved that. Second insight that I wanted to touch on is the whole idea of scope creep is not a loophole, it's a totally separate lane. If a client truly expands, a tactical scope, like we need somebody in house 2 to 3 days a week or XYZ, well, that's when we can bring in a daily rate. But, that's the exception, not the business model. But, Graham is crystal clear. You don't bill on results, you bill to a budget. And what do? You win renewal by meeting or beating expectations. So if the idea lands, the clock is irrelevant. Bill brilliance and not minutes. So I just absolutely loved that Graham a Good Kind episode. So I'm looking forward to hearing yours, David.
Yeah, thanks. That was a power episode, I think. Graham brought lots of great insights, a lot of um, things that makes agencies question their models, business models.
Mm-hmm.
For me, what stood out was clients don't care how long it takes you. They just want the job done when they want it done. So internally, you got to just figure out how you need to get it done. And we got to measure our value, sell our value, not our time, essentially. So that was a very, very
Exactly.
wonderful episode. Yeah. And my favorite episode from the month of July was the one that we called Name, Blame, and Damage Control. And he had Emma Wolcott, who is partner and head of reputation protection at law firm Michigan DeRea. It was a fantastic episode. She brought all the juice, all the heat in that episode. And for me, a few things stand out. I'm just gonna point out a few quickly because you gotta listen to it yourself, guys. For me, she asked, "What is reputation?" And I'd always thought reputation is how people think, what people think about a brand or what people think about even a person, if you will. But she brought a different dimension, a very emotive dimension to the conversation. And she said, reputation is how people feel about a brand, about a person. And that just got me, woof, never thought about it that way. So that episode, she actually goes into a bit of deep dive expressing why it's about how people feel about a brand. So that was just phenomenal. Also, she talks about how to respond to crisis. How should organizations respond to crisis? Every now and then, organizations are faced with one crisis or the other. How do you control the damage? When should you actually speak out? When shouldn't you speak out? She actually expresses that a lot in the episode. Another thing she did talk about is the online space. Lots of online harassment is going on. How do you deal with that as an individual brand or as a corporate brand? It was just such a hot episode, if you ask me. And she also did speak about the rise of what you call newsfluencers today. That was quite interesting. Look, if you haven't listened to this episode, it's one to listen to. If you're in the PR world, if you're working in PR, you gotta listen to this episode. So that was my favorite episode from the month of July. I look forward to doing this next month. Emily, over to you.
I love that one. That was a really good one. And I can't quite pinpoint her exact words, but I know she touched on the Domino's case. And it
Yes.
was about, there was a 48-hour period of silence, and that pretty much just poured gasoline right onto their story or that whatever headline that was out. I can't quite remember exactly what it was, but I think that was just like a masterclass in like first response timing. And I think, a lot of companies need to consider these points, and they might need to go give this episode a listen, if I'm being totally honest. So, David, thank you so much for joining me this month on our monthly mic check. I look forward to doing this again with you next month.
Hey, can I just say that I think it's going to be a struggle for us to pick our favorite episode. I mean, for me, it's going to be a struggle because in this month of August, we've been dropping really powerful episodes, and I don't know. Let's see what we come up with on our next monthly mic check. Thanks,
I
Annie.
know, I know. I feel like I already have my favorite in the bag, but
Ah,
every episode is just a hit, so it's really hard to top each week's episode that we release. So I will see what you bring to the table next month,
let's
David, but I'm
see.
excited to
Fingers crossed.
share. So everyone, that is a wrap on the monthly mic check for this month. And just remember, we don't sell time, we sell impact. So the clock can see itself out. Crisis loves silence, and creativity, it hates timesheets. So, on that note, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next month. Thank you,
All right.
David.
Thank you. Bye.